Oh God, what were you thinking? What, I wonder, was happening in the great heart of God as God's gift to the world was being destroyed? I wonder about Mary, helpless at the foot of the cross. I wonder about the disciples, bewildered and afraid, with their teacher and friend dead. I wonder what that Friday night was like for Peter once his bitter tears were spent. I wonder about Mary Magdalene and the other woman who had loved Jesus and looked after him. Mostly, though, I wonder about the deep, tender, wounded places in each of you. "2,000 years ago on the first Good Friday, Jesus of Nazareth was betrayed by one of his inner circle, abandoned by his most trusted friends, arrested and bound, and subjected to a mock trial. He was slapped, stripped, flogged, and jeered at. Then he was nailed to a wooden cross and left to die. The worst that could happen happened that day. Unbelievably, Jesus was gone. All the hopes and dreams of his little band of followers were gone too. Every expectation about how life was supposed to turn out had suddenly vanished. None of us has been nailed to a cross, but most of us have been nailed by life. Most of us have had at least one Good Friday. The loss of someone you thought you could not do without, a devastating diagnosis, a bitter divorce, some colossal failure or disappointment. If you are very young and your whole life has been smooth sailing, I am here to tell you that Good Friday will come, not because of anything you have done or will do to deserve it, not to test your faith or try your strength, not to punish you for making a wrong move. Good Fridays come because that is the way life is. Whether Good Friday comes is not the question. The question is, what do we do when Good Fridays come? When we've reached our limit, when even the pretense of holding things together cannot be maintained. What do we do when we're cornered, when there is no solution and no place to turn? Another way to put it would be to ask, as hospice worker Stephen Levine does, is it possible to keep the heart open in hell? Pema Chodron, in her wonderful little book, When Things Fall Apart, writes that chaos should be regarded as extremely good news, which of course is the opposite of how we tend to regard our difficulties. Our first line of defense is to try really hard to avoid problems in the first place. And when they cannot be avoided, we rush in to fix them with all our might. Try harder, dance faster, buy something. Call the doctor, call the plumber, As a last resort, call the priest. There have been enough theology books written about what Jesus accomplished on the cross to stun us all into silence. And I, for one, am not smart enough to figure it all out. But this much I can say. Jesus chose a different way. His way was to turn toward the hard thing, to not run away, to face squarely what had to be faced without trying to change it or fix it in any way. I do not pretend to know the mind or heart of Jesus when he restored a slave's severed ear or promised paradise to a criminal or asked forgiveness for his tormentors. But somehow he managed to keep his heart open even in the most hellish hours of his life. So I wonder, could it be that within the falling apart that each of us experiences, there, good news is waiting to be discovered? Could it be that at the heart of whatever is causing our distress are the seeds of our deepest joy? Chaudron writes, in difficult times when we feel ready to give up, this is the time when healing can be found in the tenderness of pain itself. In the midst of loneliness, in the midst of fear, in the midst of feeling misunderstood and rejected is the heartbeat of all things, the genuine heart of sadness. There, right there, we can touch what she calls some throbbing quality. When we are forced into that place where pushing against life no longer works. When there is nothing left to do but to allow the pain of living to wash over us. Perhaps then, maybe, just maybe, we can touch that openness of heart that Jesus shows us. Spacious enough for all of our experience. Love itself, we could say, holding us in one vast embrace that includes all things. Peter's anguished regret, Mary's inconsolable grief, the broken hearts of all those who could not make sense of what was happening, and our hurts too, in one great kinship of suffering. Eventually, on the other side of suffering, emerged Peter's rock-solid faith, Mary's miraculous compassion, and the new faith that we, all these Good Fridays later, still claim as meaningful and true. Can we touch within ourselves that tender, throbbing quality that belongs to our essence as creatures made by God? Can we find a way to be grateful for the darkness of Good Friday? Can we trust that much? Believe that much? Love that much?